Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our showcase theater session, How to Uplevel Your Productivity at Work with Gemini for Google Workspace. I am Christine Wignall, and I lead sales activation for Workspace in North America. And with me, I have two of our clients who are early adopters of Gemini for Workspace. We have Amanda and Frey, and I will let the two of you introduce yourselves and say a little about your roles and your company. I'll start with you, Amanda.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda Taylor, Vice President of Infrastructure at FinQuery. DevOps, data science, and my favorite, IT and the Google Workspace are my domain. If you haven't heard of FinQuery, look it up. SaaS management, contract management, lease accounting software.
And hello, my name is Frey. I am the Google Workspace Manager for Trimble. We're involved in, what aren't we involved in? Construction, geospatial, natural resources, forestry, agriculture, transportation, based on a GPS, knowing where your stuff is and what it's doing. We've got about 13,000 people worldwide and something like 200 different offices.
That's awesome. Thanks to both of you for being here today. And for those of you who are not familiar, Gemini is a way to put AI tools directly in the hands of Workspace users. So we really see it as the way to supercharge our employees' productivity. You can think of it as some things it can do are help you write emails, help you summarize long email chains, help you generate docs from scratch. So things like press releases, executive summaries, project trackers. Know that you never have to start with that blank space. You can always lean on Gemini, which you can think of as your AI partner that lives within the Google Workspace apps. So we're going to have a little panel discussion before we open up for questions at the audience. But the two of you, I think first and foremost, let's start out by understanding a little bit about your company's overall philosophy on AI and how you're thinking about bringing that to your workforce. Amanda, we'll start with you.
FinQuery's been an excited early adopter of AI tools. I'll say that our philosophy is cautious optimism. Certainly, we want to take advantage of the new opportunities and the new innovations coming out daily, but we want to make sure that we do so with respect to our employees and our clients, privacy concerns, InfoSec concerns, et cetera.
Yep, it's really important. Frey.
I would say on our side that our philosophy on AI is more like reckless abandon, at least from the standpoint of the developers and the engineers. They can't wait to get their hands on it and use that to integrate into tools and to build customer solutions. The thing that I think is more challenging and more fun is making Gemini and making AI more accessible and directly relatable to the jobs of the other 50%, the people who are processing invoices with POs, people in legal and finance, and all the other parts of the company. So I want to make sure this doesn't turn into a technology-first tool, but it's something that applies to everybody across the enterprise.
Yeah, I love how you're thinking about that. There are endless use cases out there that can apply to all lines of business and industries. So glad to hear you're thinking about that way. Okay, so I was hoping we could start by each of you telling us a little bit about your reasoning for choosing Gemini for Google Workspace as your solution for productivity and AI. And Frey, we'll start with you.
For us, it was an easy choice because we're a workspace shop. We have been since we migrated to Workspace 7 years ago as the only collaboration-first tool that we could integrate all the different cultures and offices and the verticals that we're in. And the fact that you can access Gemini from within all of these tools makes it an absolute no-brainer to use. We also like the fact that by using Gemini, we're using our existing Google infrastructure. So the same TSAs and the same agreements, the same security assurances that we had on having our information in the cloud also applies to Gemini, where it might be a little more iffy if we were going with some other solutions.
Sure. I would imagine that helps a little bit with the change management piece too, having it integrated into tools your employees are familiar with.
Oh, it does, and it's also a matter of being able to trust the tools at every stage.
Yeah.
You know, we've certainly worked with other tools. There's a lot of AI work going on, but I always worry about, you know, people downloading a random plugin. It's a front end for a tool that I do trust, but where did the plugin come from? What information is it capturing? I don't have to worry about that with any of the Google tools because I'm familiar with them. They're coming from a trusted source, and I don't have to think twice about them.
Yeah. Thank you. Amanda.
For us, one of the big attractions for Gemini for Workspace, obviously, is that Google is ubiquitous with so many different companies, and it makes it an attractive opportunity to have this tool for all of our new hires. I brag on Google in our interview process compared to those that shall not be named. Potential candidates are excited to get to work with Google and Gemini in particular. Also, these sorts of AI productivity tools are going to be table stakes in the future. So the opportunity to be able to be an early adopter here and have our employees learn as the tool grows too means that we're all equipped for our future as well.
Yeah, that's so true. And so many of this next generation, we've seen that they've been using these tools in their educational experience too. So they've grown up knowing how to use them, and I can imagine that's a plus when they get to the workforce and they don't have to figure out something new.
My 7-year-old is tinkering with Gemini.
Amazing. Okay, so let's move into the most exciting part of this conversation. And thank you in advance to both of you for sharing some of the early use cases that your teams have uncovered. We were able to spin up some visuals to walk through these. But if you could share with the audience some of these early use cases and some of the business value unlocked if you're starting to see that traction as well. And Amanda, we'll start with you.
So when we adopted Gemini, one of the first early use cases was within our engineering team on our biweekly sprint demos, where our teams that all have nautical themed names used Gemini to create funny team logos. So we had some amalgamation created between a sphinx, a sea monkey that ended up, it was a scuba diving monkey, an octopus, and a bottle of Dawn Platinum. That doesn't really follow the nautical theme, but it was super creative by the different development teams to be able to create a watercolor of Team Octopus. Certainly it's become more common across the entire organization. One of my personal use cases is to get over that, you talked about it earlier, the blank page fear when you're trying to create a new document. So a couple weeks ago, we were assessing some observability tools. And so I asked Gemini to help me write a compare and contrast for observability tools, their pros and cons, and what are the characteristics that I should look at when I'm assessing them. And in 5 seconds, Gemini in Docs created a beautiful one-pager that was practically CTO ready for me.
It's amazing. And you actually, when we were talking, shared an interesting personal use case for the Gemini chat tool, if you don't mind sharing with the audience too.
Yeah, absolutely. I figured this one out last week, so straight embedded within Google search. I went on spring break, like many of you did, I'm sure, recently, and I asked it to help me plan my itinerary, or I asked kid-friendly activities, and it gave me suggestions, links, good times to go. It gave me flight schedules. It was amazing. So I love to see how Gemini and generative AI evolves literally every single day.
Yeah, it's so cool. We were talking about how that integration between Gemini and other parts of Google besides Workspace, right? Maps or flights, being able to pull all of that together.
Yeah, it embedded pins on the map that it pulled up right next to all of the suggestions, so I could tell how close all of the different activities that it suggested for my family were.
Awesome. Bray, please tell us a little bit about Trimble's early use cases.
A lot of our early use cases have revolved around rapidly generating documents in reaction to business needs, but really the way it really came true for us last week was that we just went live with a 1,000-person joint venture, and we needed to migrate that 1,000 persons in about 60 days. And everything went wrong the week before. And we had to do so many exceptions, so many edge cases, so many documents, so many support articles. And myself and my long-suffering trainer, Liz Mitchell, were spending all our time in Docs, in Gemini, having it crank out the format, the templates, the material that goes in the documents that we had sent out in order to just stay on top of the tsunami that we had to deal with. We were generating slides, we were coming up with sheets, and what we found out was that we're now getting access to the extension in the Google Drive for the side panel. So we have hundreds and hundreds of articles on all kinds of subjects relating to Google Workspace, and we were able to use Gemini to help us pick these out quickly instead of having to go through and do kind of a manual search, come up with about 10 results, and then kind of go through them because we didn't remember which ones we had updated last. I will say one other thing that we played with last week is that Gemini is good for merging together concepts that may not look like they have a quick link. And what I mean by that is that just kind of offhandedly I asked for purposes of an integration to relate the Google onboarding with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which sounds silly. But it actually spit out something that was so reasonable and something that's made such sense for using that as kind of maybe a psychological way at looking for the trauma, which it is, of moving from one platform to another, that we're integrating it into the cadence of the documentation that we give to people to use. So that's just one other thing that it turns out the AI does really, really well. It's something you should try yourselves.
That's awesome. And do you feel like you're seeing tangible business value already? I know it's still early days, but...
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, one of the neat things about Gemini is that it's not a particular feature that you hand to your end users and say you turn this on and this happens. It's something that's so open-ended. It's something that people will surprise you with how they use the tool. There's been some things in our kind of Gemini chat that we have going on right now where people were like, you won't believe what I just discovered, having to do with filling out templates and actually giving templates to Gemini to get information back on what information should go where. The one thing I would warn people of is that it's not something you can just give to the end users. There's got to be some kind of training. I know there's some kind of document around about how to prompt Gemini, which are some ideas on how to get the best results out. But when you put it in the hands of your users, you're going to be surprised, I think, with some of the things that they give back to you for use cases that only you know about. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, so I expect the lawyers and accountants to come up with things that I can't think of, and it's my job to figure out how to enable them to make those kind of decisions and how to use the tool.
Yeah, it's so important because it is very early days. Everyone who's using it is basically an early tester of it. So it's about how, once you do find that it is providing value, how can you share that? How can you, as administrators, help proliferate that message to increase the usage and get everybody getting the most out of the product?